crude oil is still rising in price this Thursday. OPEC members failed to agree on oil production targets when they met in Vienna. It was the first time in 20 years that they were so publicly divided. A bloc led by Saudi Arabia wanted to raise output, but it was beaten down by members including Iran and Venezuela. Well, the U.S. may now decide to take matters into its own hands. President Obama is considering deploying America's strategic oil reserves in order to bring down the price. Well, for more on OPEC's unusual meeting, let's talk to Arne Lohmann Rasmussen. He is chief analyst at Danske Bank, and he's been ranked the number one when it comes to forecasting Brent oil prices. He joins us from Copenhagen. Very good to see you, sir. Thanks for being with us. So, what's your main takeaway from this OPEC meeting? Is this an economic divide, or is this about politics?
I think it's both an economic and a political divide. On the economic side, of course, some countries really desperately need high oil prices. And on the political side, it's very obvious. You have the hawks on the one side, Venezuela, Iran, and then, of course, the more pragmatic members on the other side with Saudi Arabia leading that group. So yes, it's a division on several parameters in my view.
Well, oil prices are already pretty high. You talk about some of these nations desperately needing higher oil prices. The Arab Spring has a lot to do with it, doesn't it? Because they've increased their social spending.
Yeah. Basically, they fear if they cannot keep spending money, that the uprising will spread to their country. So yes, they are desperately in need of money. And then, of course, we shouldn't forget that countries like Iran and probably also Venezuela see an opportunity to use this as a vendetta against the West. It's an old story, but that's how it is, I guess.
And that's got something to do with Libya, presumably.
Yeah, of course, it was a very hectic meeting. You had the crisis in Libya, you have Saudi forces in Bahrain. The heat is really on among the OPEC countries, and then they end up with a breakup. And of course, I think people will now be discussing, was this the end of OPEC, or do we see OPEC in two groups now? So, and what are the consequences for the oil prices here? Yeah, we see them going higher today, and I think that's because of the nervousness that are now in the market, what will happen. But eventually, I think people will realize that, yes, we're now in a situation where it's Saudi Arabia who decides,
right.
And they have a more pragmatic approach. And eventually, they will put more oil on the market, in my view. I don't think we should be overly concerned that oil prices are now going significantly higher.
Are you saying that OPEC is now rendered dysfunctional because you have this crucial divide also between those countries that cannot increase production because they don't have it, and those that can increase production?
I think the Secretary General said it very good himself. He said it was the worst meeting ever. Yes, this is a huge crisis for OPEC, and remember they don't have a meeting before December, I think it is. So who's going to call an extraordinary meeting in this environment?
Finally,
but in the end, I think we'll see. Yeah.
Just give us your oil forecast. Where do prices go from here?
I think in the short run, we'll see prices going higher, going above $120 when you look at the Brent and the Brent price. But we are in the middle of a sort of a soft patch in the global economy. We shouldn't forget about that. And that's also what the division was about yesterday. And the soft patch is playing out right now. But that definitely put a dampening on the oil price. But we're a bit concerned about the autumn and the winter. If this division in OPEC continues, will they be able to actually supply the oil that we need in the autumn and the winter? Because oil demand is still rising. We shouldn't forget about that, despite we're in this soft patch.
Arne Lohmann
Rasmussen. A small arrow pointing high for oil prices. Sorry?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Just reminding our viewers that you've been ranked at #1 when it comes to forecasting Brent crude prices. That's Arne Lohmann Rasmussen there from Danske Bank with us. Thanks very much.